Welcome to the Master Your Millions podcast, the show all about your financial potential and leaving a legacy for future generations. Here are your hosts, Jason and Scott Henderson.
Welcome back, everyone. We are breaking Tommy's interview into two parts, and this is part two. So without any further waiting, let's get back to this interview. There's a lot of good stuff to come.
Let me ask you a question here, in that your last name's Harding, yet your book is called Hardening.
Yeah, Hardening.
Right? And I know the X, we've talked about, you X out the end because you want to get rid of the violence. Why the title Hardening? It seems like hardening would be going more to more and more hardened criminal. You hear that, right? A hardened criminal.
Yeah.
What's
the publishing,
walk us through that.
The guy that published it, the guy that published this, let me explain, there's a story behind this. The guy that published this, his name is Lorenzo Munoz, okay? He was a childhood friend of mine, all right? And the book sat for 15 years. I wasn't going to publish it. It was a manuscript. I was not going to publish it. It was something to myself. This was written 16, 17 years ago, okay? And I happened to be in Miami, and Lorenzo runs a venue he runs a place called the Memoir Amphitheater, and he has groups playing there like Jennifer Lopez or Mark Anthony or groups, and he invited me down there. So I went down there, I said, yeah, I want to meet Jennifer Lopez. Yeah, awesome, right? So I go down there and I meet a bunch of people. And yes, I met Jennifer Lopez, and it was great. And we're in his office and we're having a drink, and he's having a cigar. I don't smoke. And I just started talking to him, and he said, well, he knew I was a criminal when I was young, because he was a good guy, right? And I told him I wrote some memoirs about myself. And he said, really? I said, yeah. He says, anybody read it? I said, no, man, this is just for me. And he says, would you let me read it? And I was really skeptical about that. I was skeptical about it. And I said, it's been sitting for almost 16 years. I said, well, I'll let him read it. So I sent him the manuscript, and he read it. He gets back in contact with me like 3 weeks later, and he says, Tommy, we got to print this. This story has to be told. And I said to him, he goes, Tommy, I'll pay for it. I'll do it. It has to be told. But I want you to do one thing for me. And I said, well, I'll think about it, right? And then a couple of weeks later, we spoke, and he says, and he's a very spiritual guy. He goes, the only thing that I want you to do, Tommy, is to pay it forward. Just pay it forward. So now, when this came out, I had nothing to do with the title. I didn't say, hey, name it Hardening. I didn't say that. They did that on their own. They took this picture of me. Well, Lorenzo's an old friend of mine, so he had this picture of me when I was a kid, and he took this picture of me at the concert, at the show, and he just put them both on here. And he put the X on it, sent it to me like this. I'm like, okay. I had nothing to do with it. That's the bottom line. I had nothing to do with that at all. Did I think about it much at the time? Not in particular, because there was a problem. The only problem that we had was I had written this a while back. I had written this book years ago, like 15 years ago, and he says, Tommy, we need another chapter. We need one more. You got another chapter in you? Because people are going to want to know what your life is right now. So I did. I wrote the last chapter, was called 15 Years Later.
And that's what you added, that you went back to school, you graduated from college.
There you go.
The cool.
All the good stuff, all of that's in there. Absolutely. Well said. That's when I made that change. And so I gave them another chapter. And now I'm at a point, Jason and Scott, that I just want to figure a way to, that's why I wound up at James's place. I wound up James Dixon because I was doing a podcast in Miami, and Mr. Dentley was on the podcast, on the video, on the podcast. And I was there, with Muhammad Ali's widow, Khalifa. I can't remember her name, Khalila. She was married to Muhammad Ali. And we were all there. And Mr. Dentley took a liking to me. He liked my story, Mr. Dentley, James Dentley. Yeah. And then me and him kept in contact for a while. And he says, I want to invite you to some things. He says, you want to be a speaker? I said, yes, I want to be a speaker. And he says, I'm going to put you in contact with somebody. and he introduced James Dixon to me. I never heard of him, never heard of James Dixon. He introduced James Dixon to me over a three-way call, over phone, no video, no nothing. And I talked to James on the phone, and we talked a few times prior to me coming down there. And I finally was able to come to go meet him, and that's why I met you. And that's my first time I've ever done anything like that. I've never went to a speaking convention. I never went to a speaking masterclass. I never did anything of that nature. I was out there doing it on a small scale by myself, going up to the schools, the people know me, going to the churches, anyone that'll hear me. So I figured I could make a career out of it. I said, why not? Why not? That'd be great. You know, there's more
So
to my. There's
you're
more to
open
me
to
than
an
this
event,
world.
someone listening to this, you're open to the fact that someone listening to this podcast, going to the show notes and being able to contact you and say, you know what, we have a gang problem in Portland, Oregon, or we have something in this college or this underserved. Last night, in fact, my wife spoke at a place called the Red Barn, and it's kind of a farm type of thing, but it's all men, and they're not required to be there, right? Yet sometimes the judge will say, go to the Red Barn and spend your time there, or go to jail, like gives them an option. But other people come in there, and it's a whole program, right? Helping them dealing with addiction and different crimes, repeat crimes and stuff, and overcoming. And I mean, those were some tough dudes that she spoke to last night. But you'd be open to that type of thing, is what I'm saying.
Oh
You really want to
yes.
make a career of this and stand on a stage and say, you want to be that voice in somebody's head that's saying, don't go down that path, take this other path.
Yes, yes. And that by itself, guys, saves lives. Because sometimes it's a split decision. When you're a teenager, oh man, people manipulate you to like just like that. Because that's what happened to me. A lot of the guys in the neighborhood that were involved with organized crime or mob, whatever the heck you want to call it, criminals. I just call them criminals. Um, they don't love you. I thought Jimmy loved me. They don't love you. They want to do whatever they have to do to 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 for financial gain. It's all about money. That's all it is. It's all about money. You know what I'm saying? So unfortunately, I got involved in that, and it made me become a convicted felon. And let me tell you something. I could have served a lot more time than they gave me because all the stuff that I think that I got away with. But I almost lost my life several times. I was shot as well, shot point blank. I was just standing on gosh, where was that? I was in Brooklyn, and somebody remembered me. Somebody remembered me, and he just had a gun on him that day, and he shot me in the back. You know, and I was with another friend of mine, Neil DeAngelis. Neil DeAngelis ran to my aid, and then another guy stabbed Neil in the stomach, and Neil to this day still suffers from that stab onto his stomach to his intestines, you know, and just because of the stuff that I did, they just happened to see me. That's all it was, and the guy shot me, tried to kill me right there, So that lifestyle is no lifestyle. That's not a lifestyle. I've been away from crime for many, 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 many years. And I love what I'm trying to do right now. I love it. I enjoy helping people. I enjoy listening to kids. I'm gonna tell you this one story, real brief. I was talking at this church, this Presbyterian church in Fayetteville, North Carolina. It was a bunch of young kids. The youngest must have been 11. The oldest must have been maybe 18 or 19, maybe 30 or 40 kids. And they were listening to me. And I was telling them that story when I was hit, the same story I told you guys, when I got hit by the car, And this one girl there kept looking at me, this young little girl. But the way she was looking at me is like she was amazed at something, and she looked sad. And when I was finished talking, when I finished speaking, I called her over to me, and she was kind of shying away. So I asked her what's her name, and she told me her name. And then she goes, Mr. Tommy, I need to ask you something. And I'm like, honey, you can ask me anything you want. She goes, did it hurt you when you were run over by the car? When the car hit you, did you feel pain? And I'm saying to myself, why is she asking me this? well, what kind of, I didn't want to say that. Then I asked her, why are you asking me that? Well, not really, why are you asking me? She goes, well, last year, my little brother was hit by a car and he was killed. And I wanted to know if he felt any pain when he died. And right there, I went, oh my God. I went, oh, okay. I had to grasp hold of myself and I answered that. And I told her, you know what? I didn't feel a thing. I didn't feel nothing because I was instantly knocked out. I didn't feel the thing. And I know that your brother didn't feel any pain. And then she hugged me and she started crying. I said, that's the reason why I want to do that. When that little girl did that, that's the reason why. I took a picture of her and me together. I said, that's the reason why I want to do things like that. If I could comfort one person, it makes it all worth it, you know? And that's what I want to do. And I will do it because I will not allow it to end up any other way. I want to do that and I want to help people and I want to praise God and I want to let people know that God is here. Because let me tell you something. If God was not here, I wouldn't be having this conversation with you right now. Trust me, he saved me for something. He saved me for something, you know, to write kids' books, and I'm writing a bunch of them, maybe to do this book, to do whatever, to talk to people. I go to the park and I play with the kids and the basketball, whatever, with my old self. I try to make them feel comfortable when I'm talking to them, especially the gangbanger kids. You know, they're young, they're like 12, 11 years old, and they're gangbanging, you know, carrying guns and knives at 11 and 12, you know. So somebody's got to do something, you know. And I'm pretty experienced in that area, you know. But it's not all just about that as well. It's all about what when I met Mr. Dixon and I see what's going on with absolute motivation, that's another that's another thing I want to do. I want to motivate people. I want to motivate anybody that will listen, not just my story. This is nice, it's cool, fantastic, you know, platform. It gives me a platform, but it's more than just, it's not about me. It's about you people out there. I just want to be a tool. I want to be a tool. I want to help, you know, and I know I can. I know that I can. And when we met, you know, we clicked kind of cool, you know, and I met your lovely wife, you know, sweetheart, and everyone there and people. Did I feel as though when I came there, I know I look a little different. Did I feel as though I'd be treated different? No, I didn't even cross my mind. Everybody was wonderful. Meeting Herb Thomas, you know, everybody there, Scotty Wallace, you know, just meeting people and being genuine. I love that. People being genuine who they are, you know. I admire that, you know, and you were very nice when you talked to me, you know. I admire that. It's just life is such a wonderful splendor, you know, if you could have a life, you know, if you can, because trust me, there's a
And you
lot of
said,
people out there that don't.
yeah, you said at one point that being dead or in jail is essentially the same thing, and that's a really interesting way of thinking
Yeah,
about it because no one wants to die, right? And so to
no,
look at jail that way, that's pretty cool. You know, our podcast, and you said this at the beginning. What am I going to say on a podcast about mastering your millions? I don't know much about wealth and money.
nope.
Yet you said so many things, Tommy, during this thing about wealth. And so I want to bring it back to have you answer the question. Wealth is not money. It's not an amount in your bank account. That can be part of it. How would you define wealth, though? And wealth that's actually lasting, that you would be in the event you were talking to a teenager, say, well, yeah, I can go that way. You can have girls and you can have money, you can have drugs and everything, but there's going nowhere. You're really not building wealth down the
No.
road. Yet this route, what would you describe to them is wealth that's meaningful?
Well, that's a good question. Um, First of all, I would want them to me, I look at wealth as being healthy. I know that sounds kind of out there, but me, I advocate. I was a. There was one good thing about me when I was younger. I was a professional bodybuilder. You know, I was a big guy. I love bodybuilding and nutrition, stuff like that, and I share that on my channel. You know, to me, wealth. I never really. I got to tell you, Jason. I never thought about money too much after all of that stuff that I went through. To me, I kind of looked at it as dirty in a way. I mean, we were counting so much money in that freaking count room that I had green coming off of my hands. It was just incredible thinking about that illegal money. But wealth, to me, to be wealthy is to have people respect me when they see me, to have my health, to have God, of course. That's more than wealth to me. To have Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. Those few things. I am so low maintenance, Jason and Scott. I'm low maintenance. I am the most low maintenance guy in the world. Okay, it doesn't take much for me to be happy. It really doesn't. I get up, I ride my motorcycle, I go to the gym, I try to uh, uh, get my book and my story out. Have I thought about? I'm not married. I was married I got married at the age of 54, and then I got divorced 5 years later. It was the only time I was ever married. And um, I thought when I got married that this is it. This is the this is it. This is going to be my life. But it didn't turn out that way. She was a nice person, and we just didn't click. I would love to educate myself. Listen, no matter how old you get, you're never too old to learn. You're never too old to learn. Um, um, to me, to define wealth, master of your millions, whatever. To me, to define that, I would I would just say, to be healthy and have God. You know what I'm saying? And along those lines. If you don't listen, if you don't, and I'm going to say this, if you don't have God in your life, you don't have a life. That's number one. That that is so, so, so important. And I found that out the hard way. But you know what? I still found it out. That what was important because that changed my life. That changed my life. And I talk to him all the time. All the time. Every time I get up in the morning, I pray for anyone that I see. It's just so incredible. I have a couple of friends of mine when I told them, what are you doing now, Tommy? Oh, I'm writing children's books. They start laughing. They didn't believe me. They thought I was joking, you know? And
Yeah,
then I sent
huge
them
guy
the
like you writing children's books.
yeah, I
It's a
sent
little
them
bit of
the
a
links to my
disconnect.
yeah, I sent them the links to my children's books, and then they were like, "Oh my God, that is great. That's so fantastic." And I've given books away at the church, for the kids and stuff like that, and to relatives, this is my Uncle Tommy wrote this book, whatever. And that gives me comfort. That gives me wealth. That gives me wealth, doing those type of
Okay,
things.
so you've mentioned some friends. You have some good friends. So a good relationship is part of that wealth. God,
Yes.
you said God is number one. There's some relationships in family, right?
Yeah.
I'm kind of lumping those because friends can be like family, right?
Yes. Of
And
course.
being respected, and also I'm hearing you say that this making a good making good in the world or doing good in the world, having the ability to do good in the world, right, is kind of a wealth, right?
Yes.
Is what I'm hearing you saying. And
Yeah.
I'm loving you struggling with defining it, but you're doing a really, really good job. Is there more you want to say as far as defining it? Because there's one more question I have, and that is
Answer.
we
Good
we
answer.
always put
Answer.
this out. We put this out, and Scott hasn't said a word this whole time. Maybe I should have him do it.
Hey,
But
Scott, I
we
hope I'm not
love.
boring you.
No, not at all. It's been fun. The question Jason's going to ask, though, is what's the next mountain you're going to climb?
What's the next mountain I'm going to climb? Well, to be frank and to be honest with you, the mountain that I'm climbing right now is that I want to get this platform out there. I want to get what I'm trying to do out there to the world, you know, to to speak, to talk, to travel and to speak and to talk and to spread the word. Um, that's the only thing that's been really on my mind um, these past this past year, ever since I
Put
got
it out
that,
there. I
that
want to
book
pin
out
you
there.
down here because we're doing this. We want you, and what Scott's looking for, and I'm looking for, is we want you to say, "I want to address an audience of 1,500 people,"
Oh, of
or "I
course.
want to start a foundation," or "I want to do." We want you to put it there because here's the thing: we want you to put it out to the universe, to God, to society, whatever. On this podcast, it's a record. And then we want you to commit that when you do that, number one, in the event we could come and be there with you, we want to do that. Number two, once you've done it, you bring, you contact and you come back here and we will have a celebration podcast interview to talk about that you did that. So I want you to, that's what we're looking at. Put something out there. We had one guy that said, you know what, I want to address an audience of 100,000. I'm like, whoa, dude, okay. You let me know. I'll travel to see that happen.
Well, that's
what's your thing?
Yeah.
Put
that's
it out
what
there,
I want to
Tommy,
do.
and let's think big. I want you to. I think you have the ability, just given where you came from and what you're doing, and you're phenomenal, right? What's something out there?
Well, that's what I want to do. I want to have a large audience of thousands of people to listen to me. Without a doubt, that's what I want. This is all kind of new to me, and I'm learning as I go, And I think that I'm stepping in the right direction to have this happen. And all I got to do is keep pushing forward, get support and people out there to believe in me, because I believe in myself, of course. Because if you don't believe in yourself, you're not gonna believe in anyone else. Unfortunately. So that is the road that I want to. That is my yellow brick road that I want to take. A vast audience and everybody listening and learning and getting something out of what I'm saying, because even though I have an audience and I talk to a bunch of people, I still get feedback from them. So that helps me grow as well. You know what I'm saying? It's just a process, and I will get there. I will.
So let's agree on 1,500.
Yes.
When you have an audience of 1,500 and you address an audience of 1,500, I know my number's in your phone.
Oh yeah,
and
I'll call you.
You're calling me. And in an event that there's, something that I could come and be one of those 1,500, that's a very real possibility. I want to be there to celebrate that with you, but we also want you back on the podcast, and we're going to talk about your feelings, talk about what you talked about, saying, it was the children's book that's got me there, or it was my hardening book, whatever. Okay, so we're gonna put that out there. So Scott, we got to wrap this up kind of, but we have everyone that's listening. We will put in the show notes how to get a hold of Tommy, a link to his book. It's on Shopify, I think you said.
I'll send you the link. I'll send it to you in a text message.
Yeah, we'll put everything down in the show notes, everyone. But back to you, Scott.
Thank you. Tommy, thank you so much. It's certainly been a pleasure. Man. And as Dr. J was saying, guys, we will put all of the links in the show notes down below, including Jason and myself's contact information. If you did like the show, make sure to leave us a 5-star review. It really helps out with the algorithms. And last, remember that mastering your millions all starts with your mind and your team. Make sure they are the best. Absolutely. We will catch you next time.
Thanks for listening to Master Your Millions with Jason and Scott Henderson. Check the show notes for any links or contact information about today's guest. Make sure to follow the show so you don't miss any future episodes.